Good morning. Barry Bryson here, thanking you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. We're continuing our study of the Gospel of Matthew, and we're in Matthew chapter 6, and I'm going to be reading verses 16 through 18. This is a part of that section, the beating heart, what I call the beating heart of the Sermon on the Mount, which is about our personal relationship with God, in which Jesus gives us our love languages. This is how you say to God, I love you. This is how you express your devotion to God in your personal relationship with God. And the 3 love languages are sharing our blessings, giving, meeting the needs of others in the day of that need, praying, and now fasting. And fasting is not something we do devotionally so much in our culture. People fast a great deal trying to lose weight or to live healthfully, but they did, and it was meaningful. And I also want us to notice that Jesus doesn't say if, he says when. Whenever you fast, do not put on a gloomy face, as the hypocrites do. They neglect their appearance in order to be seen fasting by men. Truly I say to you, they have their reward in full. But you, when you fast, anoint your head, wash your face, so that you may not be seen fasting by men, but your Father who is in secret, but by your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. So fasting from food, and the Jews were only commanded to fast 1 day a year, and that's the Day of Atonement. That's in the law. But by Jesus' day, different groups of Jews were fasting much more than that. In fact, the Pharisees would fast twice a week, which is something that the Pharisee, in the parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector, Luke 18, mentions, that he fasts twice a week. I think yesterday I may have given Luke 12 as the chapter, and I apologize. It's Luke 18. But they would fast from sun up to sundown. But you can do that and it not be that much of a challenge. If sunup is at 6:59, you can go to IHOP at 6 o'clock, and eat a big breakfast, pancakes and sausage and bacon and eggs and hash browns, and that can tide you over until the sun goes down. If the sun goes down at 5:30 or 6 o'clock, you fasted 12 hours, 11 hours. Then you can go have a surf and turf dinner and gain weight on your fast day. I mean, that's not hard to do. As most Pharisees were middle class and fairly well off, not day laborers, they probably fasted in just that way. And so if they were going to seem to be fasting, they were going to have to neglect themselves and make themselves look bad so that people can go, oh, it's Tuesday, it's a fast day. Of course, Tuesday, Friday, it's a fast day. Look at what a good guy he is. Fasting from food, if you're a day laborer and you only earn enough in a day to feed your family for that day, then fasting that day meant that it freed you up, to be observant and to do the things of the day, like the Day of Atonement, that the day required. And so fasting is a way of making space. It's showing devotion by making space in your day. And so fasting is giving. I made the mistake of giving something up, and in class when I was in undergrad school, and Clifton Inman immediately corrected me. No, it's giving something to. You're not giving up, you're giving to. You're giving to God, you're expressing your devotion to Him. Fasting from food is a way to do that. As he will say later on in this chapter, we spend a lot of time worrying about what's for dinner. What am I going to wear? What am I going to eat? And you don't have to have that conversation at all with yourself or with others if you're fasting that day. You can have plenty more time for prayer and for good deeds. But what are some other things we could fast from, like screens, like any of our diversions? We devote so much time to unproductive things that we could and should fast from, to devote to productive things as an expression of our relationship, our love for God. My grandmother, when she was about my age, she was in her early 60s, fasted for the rest of her life from reading books that were not the Bible. My grandmother was a voracious reader. She always had a book going. She read a book in a day or two. She loved good novels and the old novels, and she had her favorite authors. And she liked devotional books too, but mostly good authors and novels. She liked to read novels. And she had bookcases in every room of her house. And she had 2 of her closets in her house filled with books. And she took me to book sales, and she read all the time. That was her pleasure. That was her diversion, was reading. Reading. And then, for reasons that are personal, and personal to our family, my grandmother, when she was in her early 60s, made a promise to God, which was very private. She didn't tell anyone about it. I came to find out about it. My mother knew about it, that she was going to fast as an act of devotion from reading anything but the Bible for the rest of her life. She lived to be 82, and she did. She did just that. She kept that fast. And I asked her on multiple occasions as she got older, how hard is it? And it wasn't hard at all. She still loved to talk about the books that she'd read, and she wanted you to read them. But she picked up the word. I think that was a good example for me of what fasting is really about, and how it really is a way to say I love you to God. And to think expansively about this, because as Jesus has taught us in chapter 5, we don't go to the Word in order to litigate from it. It's not the fine print at the bottom of the contract. He's expressing a simple truth, a value that's based upon the person of God. And then we take that value, we live by it, and it expands out to affect our whole lives. And that's the way I think we should use Jesus' teaching on fasting as a love language with God. Okay, we'll continue to talk about our devotion and our love to God and the competition for that devotion and that affection next time. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.